to another episode of Lift, Lighten, and Lead with Legacy Contracts. Whether this is your first time listening or you're returning for more, we're very glad you're here. This is a space for attorneys who want more than just efficiency. You want clarity, purpose, and lasting impact in the way that you practice law, serve your clients, and lead your firm. Our mission for this platform is simple: to lift the burden, lighten the load, and help you lead with clarity. Through practical insights, thoughtful guidance, and honest conversations, we explore what it takes to truly build not just a better firm, but a better way to work. If that's the kind of growth that you're after, you're in the right place. Today we're diving into our recent blog titled, When the Firm Grows But the Flow Breaks. And the purpose and intentions of this blog and essentially this discussion is to show that when you grow your law firm, when you are getting all those clients, you're getting all that revenue and everything coming in, it can really show and shift the foundation of what you've built your practice on. Your growth creates that speed that you're able to operate under, that gives you that push throughout the day, but the systems that you have create the visibility into how you actually are operating your law firm and what you've built that practice on. And so if you're not careful or intentional with the systems that you have, with how your employees are operating, trying to function under one system, one intention, that can quite literally break the flow of how you're operating your law firm and can push you back to the starting point. You can really get into this habit of looking too far into the future while not being present and focusing on how you're also growing your systems and your flow to match the physical growth and the revenue growth of your law firm. And this happens a lot with a lot of different law firms, at least, from the ones that I've seen. You get more visibility, you start racking in those Google reviews and you're getting referrals coming in. A lot of clients are very pleased with your work and they're referring you out, or they're sharing your social media postings, or they're attending your webinars or whatever else have you. And so you're starting to gain a lot of traction, which is a good thing. A lot of people put in that hard work to get to a space where they can have consistency in their business and their law firm, whatever else have you. But with looking too far ahead, you tend to, or a lot of people can tend to really overlook a lot of the systems and things that they have in place that would help balance that consistency. And so if you're not careful, you'll get to a place where you have a lot of growth and a lot of revenue, but your flow doesn't match that. And that can literally break your entire system and can throw out all the hard work that you put in to get to the place that you're at. And I think something that a lot of, not just attorneys, but a lot of business owners may not really focus on is your internal challenges, whether it's your systems or how frequently you respond to clients, what their experience could be with the law firm, not just the work that you're doing or how you're processing and handling their cases, but the internal challenges can become the perception of your law firm. And you can see that if you just go to Google, you can look up some of the most top law firms and kind of see consistently how they treat their clients. If they have a consistent reporting of like, oh, we went to this law firm and everything was handled consistently, they communicated really well, that is the perception that everybody will have with that law firm. Even new clients who are coming in will have that idea of, okay, they're going to handle my case, they're going to talk to me consistently, reply to my emails, so on and so forth. And then on the flip side, you get those law firms who people leave those reviews where it's like, I sent her an intake email, she took 3 days to get back to me, or I called his office and it took them almost a week to call me back, or I paid the retainer fee and I hadn't heard from them in 3 months. I had to constantly reach out. Nobody was getting back to me. I don't know where my case is at. I just ended up closing and going to somebody else. So all of those are dealing with and based on the internal things that goes on within the law firms that most people may not look at. You see them as tools, which they are, but they're also a big part of how people perceive your law firm and how open they're going to be with trusting you with their case. So to be able to focus on how we can take some action steps to navigate these internal challenges, we have 4 different steps, and we'll include them in the show notes, of a starting point of where you can kind of look at these things and take it at face value or dive deeper into it if the opportunity opens up for you. But the first action step is to document the client's journey. And that could be done through different ways, but you can start with just either looking at the reviews or just asking them, how was your journey with how we handled your case at this law firm? You know, what are the pros and cons? What are some things you think we can handle moving forward that are different? So on and so forth. The second step is to implement communication checkpoints, to really have like a pipeline of how you're communicating, how frequently you're communicating. If you want to implement like a bi-weekly basis, or even establish that up front where it's just like, hey, if they're a new client, we're going to be providing you with bi-weekly case updates. You know, we'll send them every Friday, and you'll have the space to either, you know, book a consultation or book a just a phone call to get more clarity on this, or we can send emails, or, you know, whatever else have you. But being able to implement different checkpoints through communication so that there's no gaps, there's no room for like, you know, different questions of what's going to happen, when are you going to talk to me, how am I going to know what's going on, or whatever. This covers that, having those checkpoints. The third action step is to designate role ownership, assigning your employees with different tasks or even different steps within the communication journey. So if you have like an intake specialist, somebody who can kind of handle everything up front, and then you have a paralegal who could be assigned to their specific case, where it could either say, hey, all questions directed to the paralegal, and they'll decide whether or not this gets pushed to the attorney. And then the attorney could initially handle all of the bigger updates for the client, where they have to either coach them through the depositions or prep them for trial or anything like that. Designate each role in the ownership within your cases and your firm operations to specific people. And then the last step is to automate follow-ups. So what we were talking about before, where you could do like weekly updates or bi-weekly updates or even monthly updates, but just letting them know ahead of time, this is how we operate. This will be an automated thing. It'll take all of the tasks and the notes from your case, and it'll just send out like a generic email or whatever else have you. So with those steps, the last thing that we want to provide are reflection questions. And this is, you know, essentially wrapping up all of these points to kind of help further the journey to make sure that your internal systems are putting your law firm in a place to be perceived with however you want that to look like, or how you want that to go. So the first reflection question is, where does communication slow down when your caseload increases? Where are the gaps? Where are the pauses? Where are the spaces that have room for growth here? The second question is, what tasks are performed differently depending on who handles them? And this is a good way to be able to see where are the areas that we could either work on more, or where are the areas that we can maybe give it to somebody else who either has more experience in that or is more comfortable with it, whatever else have you. You know, if there's a gap with phone calls or following up or anything like that, it may be because they don't like making phone calls, which is fair. You know, you could pass on somebody who doesn't mind making phone calls, or vice versa. And then the last question is, what promises are made but not being tracked? If you're telling clients, hey, I'm going to give you a call back, or, you know, I'll send you an email at the end of the week, or if you're telling co-counsel, hey, we're going to follow up with them and then we'll let you know, and those aren't being done, how are we tracking them? Are they being tracked in the beginning? And how can we make sure that we are not over-promising and under-delivering? So tying all of this together, hopefully this was able to, you know, give you some really good insight on how we can consistently grow the firm without breaking the flow of the firm, and conveying the intentions to be able to maintain your client experience throughout your law firm expansion, making sure that we're being intentional and that there's no gaps in between, and we are filling in spaces accordingly. So if today's concept resonated with you, you can read the full blog on our website, or you can listen to the YouTube version of the blog on our YouTube channel. But here on this podcast, we'll delve deeper, exploring the concepts, culture, and practices that help you build clarity through calm. We hope today's insights help you practice with more calm, confidence, and clarity. Remember, law firms aren't built overnight. They're built every day you choose to grow. This is Legacy Contracts, and until next time, keep leading with clarity.